Ranjan and you're watching Ritam. The world's energy chessboard is once again shifting, and this time it's India caught in the crossfire of geopolitical sanctions. The United States, in its latest bid to tighten the screws on Russia's oil trade, has imposed sweeping sanctions targeting key producers and a fleet of tankers transporting Russian crude. But here is the punch. These sanctions may ripple far beyond Russia, jeopardizing global energy stability, with India poised to bear the brunt. How fair is a move that endangers a nation's energy security when the global economy is already on the thin ice? Let's dive deeper. The sanctions focuses on Russian oil giants Gazprom Neft and Surgutne Tigris alongside 183 oil tankers. Data reveals that 75 of these vessels have been regular carriers of Russian crude to India, a nation that sources over one-third of its oil from Moscow. The stakes are high. In just 2 years, Russia catapulted from a marginal supplier of 12% of India's crude to a dominant 37.6%. Now, with sanctions blocking dollar-dominated transactions and involving US-based firms, India faces the looming threat of losing access to a supply pipeline that delivered 5 lakh barrels per day. The ripples don't stop at supply chains. Brent crude, already predicted to surge beyond $85 per barrel, spells trouble. However, prices will drive up inflation, curbing consumer spending, inflating transportation costs, and squeezing businesses. The Reserve Bank of India's hands could be tied, pausing potential rate cuts aimed at stimulating growth. With India's second quarter GDP showing signs of slowing, can the country afford another inflammatory surge? In a race against time, Indian refineries are switching gears, expediting payments to beat the wind-down deadline. They have stopped dealing with blacklisted tankers and tightened transaction checks to ensure compliance. State-owned banks now demand certificates of origin to avoid any sanctioned oil. Meanwhile, government emissaries are engaging US counterparts, seeking clarity and negotiating potential exemptions. This isn't India's first shuffle with sanctions. In 2019, when the US blacklisted Iran's oil exports, India, one of Tehran's biggest customers, had to scramble for alternatives. Similarly, in 2022, sanctions on Russia tested India's resolve. Diversify imports, negotiate waivers, and use non-dollar payment mechanisms. The solutions weren't perfect, but they kept the oil flowing. Will the same strategies surface this time? With President-elect Donald Trump preparing to take office, hopes linger for a possible easing of sanctions, especially if diplomacy ends the Ukraine conflict. But banking on geopolitical shifts is a high-stakes gamble. India must brace for the long haul, diversifying suppliers and investing in renewable energy. The future lies in minimizing dependency on volatile sources and strengthening domestic production. The bigger picture and a pressing question: why should India's energy security be collateral damage in a conflict it did not create? These sanctions may be aimed at Russia, but their impact punishes millions of Indians, consumers, and industries alike. Isn't it time for global powers to consider broader consequences before pulling such economic levers? One thing is clear: India will stand resilient, but how many more times must it navigate the storm before the world acknowledges its right to stable, secure, and fair energy access? Jai Hind.